Samira, while you're settling everybody in, do you want to just run through anybody who hasn't sort of seen the materials list, what they need to hand?
Perfect. I think on the equipment list, I over sort of did it because you can always scale down in size if you've got more than you have. So basically you need a compass and a ruler, and the number of ways you can go from just, and a piece of paper, the number of directions you can go from just those 3 things is phenomenal. So if you don't have everything, do not worry. Your compass, your ruler, something to draw with, and your paper is sufficient. But for a fuller process, I suggested having watercolour paper, tracing paper, tape, my lovely hardy spoon, and also in terms of the drawing, you can draw in pencil, a hard sharp pencil, and for transferring a softer pencil. But I would honestly say be at ease if you've just got your paper, your compass and your ruler. And I will show you a few variations, and hopefully I think we've got time to show you a few processes as well.
Perfect. And I'd just like to say that yes, we are definitely recording this workshop and the other 3 workshops and the In Conversation in the series to share with you so that you can watch again. And some people have registered, and I had somebody earlier on who said that they were going to try and join us at their time, 2 a.m. Which was, but if not, was there a recording, so we have other people who will join us after this live workshop. And I will just make sure, yes, I just wanted to say, because I've just seen somebody say it's a flashback to our days of quarantine.
Yeah.
So obviously at Leighton House, we did pause for a moment this program. So we've been really looking forward to restarting our program of online courses, which we intend to carry on, even though we're now thankfully all out of the days of quarantine, and even after Leighton House reopens, we are going to carry on with these courses. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's been so patient and for all joining us again. We're delighted to have you back with us, and to welcome Samira. I've been following Samira's Instagram account for some time, and I sort of, fingers crossed, reached out to her to see if she might be interested in collaborating with us. So I was absolutely delighted when she said yes. I just think extraordinary work, technical virtuosity, so knowledgeable, and a lovely person as well. We've had a lot of fun working on this program together. So thank you, Samira, very much for collaborating with us. Thank you to everybody joining us. I'll be here lurking in the background, so any questions, just pop them in chat. Any problems, put them there to me direct and I will help you. And yes, enjoy this evening.
Shall we begin? Okay, hello everybody. So nice to see lots of you, and in amongst that, familiar names. So that's really sweet and really lovely. It's such a nice feeling to know that you're on the other side of this camera somewhere. Okay, I'm going to share my desktop and run through a few practicalities, I guess. There's my hands. Let's see, there we go. Okay, and I'm rearranging things on my screen just so I can get a sense of things. So as Charlotte said, and by the way, Charlotte, it's been really nice working with you. So thank you for arranging it all and bringing this whole thing together. Now, where's my screen gone? You would, there we go. Okay, so welcome. Hopefully you have got access to the PDF. The PDF is partially for me, so that I can keep an eye on what I'll be doing and make sure it is the same order, because on any given day I will construct something slightly differently, and then that makes me hard to follow. So the step-by-step, if you miss anything, it's all here, and literally I'll be doing it in this order. Okay. Secondly, in terms of what do you need, so I would just say any size paper you have will be fine. Obviously, if you want to do different things, such as painting, you might need more. So a straight edge, a compass, and something to draw with. So a pencil will be delightful. If you're a beginner, this is ideal because then you can erase things. Do have an eraser to hand. I promise you that is an eraser and a sharpener as well. And so that's all you need, and then a surface to work on. So the size at which you're working is going to be up to you. We're recreating this. And I want to talk about one thing kind of straight away is often in Islamic geometric patterns, you will have a pattern repeated, as in tiled or tessellated across the surface. Now, this pattern is just one panel on the side of a beautiful octagonal table. So in terms of us repeating it, it doesn't quite work. So therefore, whatever we draw will be for the sake of painting this. And my geekiness is kind of come to the fore at the end of the handout, where I talk about the problems with it when you try to tile it, okay? All right, okay, so that's what we'll be drawing. Let me run through some examples. Let's get the shine off of this, there we go, and let's zoom in a bit. So in terms of what we'll be doing, I did it on a small scale. I don't know, I'm a moody person, I do it according to my mood. So literally whatever size of you're comfortable working with and your compass and your ruler and your paper will take you to is fine. So this is the thing we will be drawing. So the underlying grid, the construction. And if you have tracing paper, you can pick out the pattern on another bit of tracing paper. And this is the pattern of the grid, but when you, sorry, the pattern of the table. But when you look at the pattern in the architecture, let's find the picture that I need. Somewhere here. Okay, maybe I don't have it. Yeah, I do have it. So when you look at the pattern, these lines are very thin and these are a little bit thicker. So I want to show you potentially this idea that you can thicken up the pattern. So that'll be done on another piece of tracing paper. So you can draw something quite large. So, or you can just do it on half, whatever I've suggested, which is A3. Okay, so they'll be the three processes. And when you have a piece of tracing paper, you can then transfer it to watercolor paper. So just by taking a piece of watercolor paper, turning your pattern or your tracing upside down and burnishing it with our favorite spoon. No snacks are provided. So once you've transferred it, you will have enough lines to paint. Now I'm going to zoom in because I didn't do one thing at the end of this painting, which was tidy it up with a little bit of eraser. So everything's dry, but if you can see, I've got a little bit of lead mark. So just the final move I need to do, and hopefully it'll pop a bit because on in front of me it's a bit not quite, I don't know, it's not quite popping. So yeah, then that's about one version of the pattern. The other thing you might notice is this is a pattern made out of wood, and therefore the color scheme, you know, there isn't necessarily one that we could kind of lift off the same way we can lift off colors from, say, the tiles in Morocco or Spain. Okay, so I just had my own color scheme because I enjoy working with watercolors. So that's why you have this in front of you, me, us. So that's one thing. The other thing, like I said, if you wanted to just do something on one piece of paper, there's some level of beauty in drawing, in this case in pen, or you could draw in pencil and then outline in pen, and doing all the stages all on this piece of paper. So I outlined the tile, gave it a thicker border. I did the doubling up of the lines. So if you look closely, you can see that every single line of the pattern has been drawn either side. So I'll explain that a little bit more when we come to it. But when you double up a line and try to recreate these thicker lines in a pattern, you can't just draw one side of the line. You have to draw on both sides of the line so that the proportions of the pattern are maintained. So this is one version, and I try to be nice and sensible and do wooden type colors. I think my, what is it? Umber. This is burnt umber and raw umber. It's like I had to dust them off to actually use them, because otherwise I live in the world of color. And this is just watercolor paper. So you can use, if you're going to paint, then it is an idea to use watercolor paper. I'm using cold press, so it has a bit of texture, 300 GSM, so it's nice and thick. But if you want to just draw, here's yet another version I did. Again, a recent, what's the word, obsession of mine has been to draw on a colored pad of paper. Let me just show you, because people like to know what's what. So this is Daler Rowney pastel paper, and it's got all these different colors in them. And so there's lots of different colors, a few of my drawings, but the one that's relevant for today is this. So again, I drew everything on here, on this one piece of paper in this construction. Okay, I've got one question. So Aisha, is it too ambitious to try this on the A6? If you've not drawn before, I would say it is too ambitious. And what you might want to do is maybe draw on A5. Okay, but I'm not a dictator. If you wish to live this ambitious scaling down miniature life, go for it. Okay, you'll get your own thrill out of it. There'll be highs, there'll be lows, but it's down to you. Okay, all right. Right, back to this. So in this case, I've drawn everything on one piece of paper. I did the thickening up of the lines again. So let me just zoom in so you can just see the detail a little better. So you can see there's 3 lines, and the middle line is the pattern line. And either side I've drawn a line. It's not that consistent. Look at these two, whoops daisy. They're not that consistent. So I did it in a bit of a rush, like I often do. So when you do it, you can do it very thoughtfully and carefully to make sure the channels are the same thickness. And then I added a little bit of a shadow. Again, it just was too much for me to resist not doing shadows. Okay, so I hope that answers the questions in terms of what you need. Just the basics in terms of a compass, a ruler, and something to draw with, which is a pencil. But if you would like to paint it, then tracing paper and watercolor paper will help you do that. If you wish to do all the processes on one piece of paper, then you have that. So let me lay out the options. So here we have the drawing, and then the tracing and this. So this is what I'm going to definitely 100% demonstrate, but probably not get to the painting. But if you wanted to do these processes on one piece of paper, the same one, that's fine. If you want to add paint, then you need to use the appropriate paper. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I'm going to put all of this aside and check if you have any questions before we formally begin our first lines in construction. Now, where's my paper? That's a really good question, isn't it?
Samira?
Yeah.
Hello. Could you hold for a moment, because we had a little issue with with Zoom not letting people in. So we've just got some people joining us now.
Okay, no problem. In the meantime,
I'm so sorry, everybody who got blocked joining. It must have been very stressful for you.
Don't worry,
we've only just started.
Yeah, I've talked about what we're doing and noticed I actually don't have any paper, which is hilarious because I'm here to draw. So I'll just put in front of me the things I'll be using. Oh, it's because it's down here. I am very organized, I promise. So what I'm going to be using is my plain paper, my compass. I'm going to be drawing in pen because I want you to be able to see the lines, but I will use tracing paper and a softer pencil in a second. Let's move this over so you can see all the things I'm laying out for the process, and this eraser, which is a very cool eraser, but let's add that in the spoon. And then this is for transferring to watercolor paper, so that's there as well. Okay, all right. Hello, Alessandra. You're very welcome, and it's great to see you too. Okay, so I think I might tentatively begin, but I'll just wait for heads up from Charlotte just in case I'm missing something.
No, I think that's everybody now.
Oh, brilliant.
Yes, and my apologies again to everybody who was blocked. Thank you for your patience.
All right, okay. So here's the handout that I'm going to try to follow so that if you miss anything or if something goes a little astray, you know that you can refer to this and it will just help me to help you along as well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a line, a horizontal line and a circle. Now, the horizontal line, I'm just judging by eye whereabouts it is on my piece of paper. And I can see that's not horizontal, that's not horizontal. It's about the middle and that's fine. So I'm not going to worry too much about it being exactly in the middle. I know for some people that is an issue. So just feel free to measure your paper and mark halfway. So do what you need to, but I'm just going to draw my horizontal line. The thing I am going to measure is the middle. So mine is A4 paper and 21 centimeters. So we're just going to mark the middle there. Okay. Now the question, the big question, the radius. So like I said, we're not tiling this. We are just drawing it as it is. So the size is what is comfortable for you, your pen, your compass, your ruler, your paper. And if you have A4, brilliant, but A3 is nice and big for, you know, if you want to paint that much. So the reason I suggested that was just, you know, to go for it. So my radius, I'm going to make it as big as possible on my paper. Ooh, decent. And when you're using a compass, I would suggest you're very careful in your placement. So you want it to be placed on that point. And then I just hold it very minimally. So just my finger and thumb. And I'm going to draw my first circle. But I'm not going to put my compass down. It's actually just got 3 things to do today. So this same radius, you're going to use on the left intersection and the right intersection. And all you're going to do, so nothing's changed. My radius is still the same. My compass is still open to the same distance. You can even hover it on the center to check, but you're just going to draw a small mark on the top and one at the bottom of your circle. So a mark there and a mark there. So Azra, the radius can be anything you like. It can be whatever fits on your paper comfortably. Okay. So that is it. It is our circle ready to go. I feel like the compass had one job to do and it's done it, and it can now disappear and have a little party on its own. So in case you missed how we got those marks, they're not arbitrary. They are the radius touching the top and touching the bottom. Okay. So this is what we're going to use to establish our rectangle and then the many lines to draw our pattern. Okay. All right. So that's just step 2. It's actually step 1, but numbering my hand out got a bit technical. Anyway, so the next step we've already done. We've drawn those 2 marks. And now we're going to take great care with our pencil and ruler, because it's really important that you make sure you hit the points that are needed to for the line. So if I was drawing in pencil, so I have a little envy of people who do that right now. So you just put your compass or your pencil on the point and push your ruler against it. And it's like you can pivot the ruler and make sure it hits that point. So precision is one of the things that we want to really attain today. We want to, and whether we do or not is down to the lighting, our eyesight, your excitement, my excitement. What did I say? Eyesight, hand-eye coordination, your tools, all of these things. So just don't think that your first piece has to be your ultimate, final, glorious, this is the one. It's, you know, potentially your warm-up piece, or it could be the one in which you kind of get to know the pattern and then you actually do something with it afterwards. So for example, you've already seen I've got potentially 3 attempts or 3 versions of it, and each one's different. So I always think a pattern's got a lot to give. So if you can get the most out of it by drawing it a few times, I think it'd be lovely. Okay, I'm going to pause again. And this is our rectangle. if anyone is in the kind of, it's very quiet here, see, so please do let me know if you're okay in the chat. I'm going to kind of do it as a small, sorry, as a I can't speak, at a slow pace. But yeah, Mike, the radius is whatever fits on your paper. Oh, I think you're answering the question. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, feel free to help each other. I recognize your name, Mike. Okay, so yeah, whatever fits on your paper. We have got all of a sudden so many lines. So have a look at the left-hand side, and what you'll see is I've got these dotted lines. So these dotted lines are lines meaning that you don't have to draw them, but you're using the point and the ruler is in that position, and then you just draw inside your rectangle. Now, it's not the end of the world if you end up drawing a dotted line as a full line. So don't worry, okay? But what we're essentially doing is drawing a pair of lines from this corner to 2 other points on the circle. I'll group them up to make it a little bit easier. So firstly, I'm going to put in the diagonals, okay? And then secondly, I'm going to do a V pointing right and a V pointing left, okay? So firstly, the diagonals, I want to make sure it goes through my corners and the center. And then I'm going to just pause to make sure you're okay. So fun. Then I'm going to do the second one like so. So we've drawn 2 of the 6 lines, and then we'll add on the other pair. So it'll be a pair of lines connected like so, and then a pair of lines connecting like so. So these 2 intersections, these 2 intersections, and in total these 6 intersections are what allow us to get what we need in the central rectangle. And we actually just need to create these for the pattern, and the proportions, I'm just talking sentences here now, the proportions we need for the pattern. Everyone okay? Feel free to, I don't think I can see any thumbs up type things, but in the chat, oh, I can see them. I got a round of applause and a thumbs up. I like this. Okay, I'm going to draw my first line. Have a look to make sure you can see where I'm stopping it. So the ruler is lined up with those 2 points, and you stop when you hit the vertical. So that's all I've done. Now I'm going to do the second one. So lining up my ruler and then stopping. Okay. And I'm going to do the other side as well. And then I'm hoping you're okay. Now imagine it might be a case of some of you experienced, some of you are not. So if I'm working slowly, forgive me. If I'm walking too fast, forgive me. Becky, I couldn't get into the Zoom on time. Looks like I'm too late to be able to catch up. Okay, Becky, I don't think you're too late. Oh, did I just draw too much? Unbelievable. The one thing I didn't do is because I was chatting. So Becky, just to say, in terms of catching up, what you can do is look at the PDF and see if you can draw up to step 5, but now it'll be step 6. And if you can, you might be okay. Okay. So I'm not going to say abandon all hope. The recording is available. But yeah, now you have to ignore this side of my drawing. That was me chatting. Ferdos, yay, you're welcome. And I'm excited to be here as well. So much so that I ended up drawing extra lines. Darn it. It was bound to happen, wasn't it? I think some of you know how distracted I get by myself. Let's see if I can, oh, I've got something that might make it less painful. And it's not even symmetrical. Oh, God. Okay, don't worry. Life goes on. In fact, what I'll do is I'm going to make it symmetrical because honestly, there's something in me that can't cope with that. Fine. Okay, I'm ready to move on to step 6. Hopefully you are too. And what we're going to do is basically draw in 3 lines, our vertical, And that's kind of straightforward because we can see how a vertical should look. But the points it's going to go through are the top and bottom of this hexagon. So this is the hexagon I'm referring to, okay? And you want to make sure it goes through the corners and the center of your drawing, okay? Next, you're going to draw a diagonal that's going to go through the center again, but these 2 points, the corners of the hexagon. And then thirdly, these 2 and the center, okay? Good luck, Becky. I hope you can go for it. I think we had a technical problem with Zoom, so quite a few people were blocked. So in a way, it was a little bit out of our control. So hopefully you can catch up. And I'm working at a gentle pace, so I have faith. So when we do these lines, we actually just need the lines in the central rectangle, the one that we picked out. But because I extended my lines, which is a habit of mine, I'm going to extend them. It's like I'm sulking. Oh, dear me. Okay. The PowerPoint, the handout should have been emailed to you. It's not PowerPoint, it's a PDF. Maybe Charlotte can answer on my behalf because I don't know.
Yes, it was one of the, it was attached to the email I sent out this morning. I can send it again if that would help.
I think it's fine. It's just attached to the email, and so that's brilliant. Thank you, Charlotte.
Pleasure.
Okay, so here we have matching steps. I'm going to move on to step 7, but I'll just leave that here and just ask if people are okay. Feel free to use your thumbs up and whatnot, or answer in the chat in a lovely long sentence if you wish. I got a heart emoji. Oh, thumbs up, 5 people, 6 people. Oh, nice. Thank you, Dania. That was a good idea, leaving it there. Thank you. You guys are very helpful to each other. I think you have a team of very helpful people. We have a team of very helpful people, Charlotte. Thank you. Okay, so the next step.
Who did that? Fantastic. Thank you.
It's like teamwork. Was it? Teamwork makes the dream work. Brilliant. Thank you, Abhishek. Nice to see you. Hi, Sharon. Lovely, lovely. Okay, so next step. I'm just going to talk about Nasima. Don't worry, don't worry. We are going to do a pair of triangles. Now, where are the corners for this pair of triangles? Well, the first triangle is pointing down, and it has all its corners on this inner hexagon. Okay. The second triangle is pointing up, and it has all its corners also on this inner hexagon. Okay, so we're going to draw one of them, and then we're going to draw the second one. Now, anytime you're kind of given something to draw and it's described to you, that's not necessarily the only way it can be described. You know, some of you might think, oh, look, it's 3 pairs of parallel lines. Oh, it's a 6-pointed star. Oh, it's a pair of overlapping triangles. So don't think that there's just one way of describing what you see. And maybe I'll use all of them, so one of them will resonate with you. Okay. All right, I'm going to draw in my triangle pointing down. And Isabel, you received it in the email with the link, but just scroll up and you can see somebody's put it in the chat, so you can download it. Okay. So that's my triangle pointing down. And then this is my triangle pointing up. And again, take great care lining up your points. It's really important. Okay, so I'm going to pause for a second. Feel free to tell me something interesting, or the fact that you've caught up with me, or anything. Idle chit chats. Semi-welcome. Yes, Aisha, it is relaxing. This is what I think, you know, like there's something so meditative about drawing lines. And I think, honestly, when I'm drawing them and there's a moment, like a second, where I'm sort of really entranced by myself, I'll make a mistake because it's just me getting into my zone with that drawing. So it's really nice. Ruth, please show the lines of the second triangle. Yes, of course. So it's this, this, and this. I'll just circle them with my finger. and you're joining up these 3 points. Okay, let me know if that is a-okay and you've got it. And yeah, anyone else, feel free to chat in the chat box. And then we'll just make sure a big bunch of us has got this before we move forward. But again, just kind of as we're getting more and more lines on our drawing, it would be kind of impossible for me to keep up with the pace of 100 and something people. So therefore, if you fall back, try and catch up with the PDF, and always remember you can sit back and just watch the rest, and you can catch up and have a go with the recording. So we're covering ourselves here so that we can, you know, go at a pace that, you know, isn't going to be too kind of interrupted. Okay, hopefully going good. Thank you, Priyanka. We're going to do the next thing. Cat, the weird thing is that it does not look like an equal triangle, but it is. Oh, I wonder. Hopefully it is an equilateral triangle, but yeah, brilliant. Thank you for the feedback, guys, Salma and Nasima. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a rhombus. Okay, now the rhombus, if you look at it, where are its corners? It's the midpoint of each side of our original rectangle, the first thing we drew. And these lines will be parallel to existing lines. Okay, perfect. I'm at stage 8. And yet the recording will be made available in due course. We have your emails to send them to, so that's fine. Okay, so we're at stage number 8, or step number 8, and I'm going to connect this midpoint to this midpoint, to this midpoint, to this midpoint, and back. So, you know, refer to this as well, and hopefully you'll see that every new stage is in red pen. And further down, when we get to the pattern, when I start outlining it, the outlining of the pattern is in blue, slightly thicker pen. So that's one half done, midpoint to midpoint, midpoint to midpoint, and then lastly, there. Becky, don't worry about it being messy. It's all right, it's fine. I've had those days. I mean, I think that's my mess, and I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. Okay. So I'm just at step 8. Amna, please have a look at the PDF so that you can see what stage I'm at, and then you can see how to catch up, because I don't know what you mean by the next step, because I don't know when you were kicked out. Okay. All right. So far, what I want you to notice is every line is kind of in a gang. So these are all parallel. These are all parallel to each other. Okay. These are all parallel to each other. And when we draw more horizontal lines, they will be parallel. So if you have points that you need to align and they're not looking like they're parallel, it is a good idea to kind of override that intersection just a tiny bit to make sure it's parallel. So one of the reasons I like see-through transparent rulers is I can see underneath, is my line parallel to existing lines? This is a good ruler, but some of you, if you can get hold of these sorts of rulers, they're brilliant. You can see right through them. Now, can you see how old and unlooked after this old ruler is? It's a Jackass stainless steel cutting edge ruler. You usually find them in haberdashery or craft departments. It depends what country you are. In South Korea and in Japan, I think they're more universal. But anyway, the transparent ruler, parallel lines, is really important. Okay, so I'm going to move on to step 9. So what I want you to notice is there's 2 intersections that the line goes through. They're intersections that are on my drawing. Okay, and then they stop on the edge of my rectangle. So just here, these are the 2 points that they're going to go through. Okay, so maybe you can think of it as a big triangle. You can see how close it is in proximity to the horizontal line just below. You might be able to see a triangle here and a triangle here. It's the tip of that triangle and the tip of that triangle that we're joining up. So I'm going to draw that in like so. And then the other line is the mirror reflection of that. So this is the parallel line to which I'm about to draw another parallel line. Here's that triangle. This time it's pointing down. Here's that triangle. And it's the tips of those triangles that we are joining up. Oh, Fatin, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I shall be as entertaining as I can, but yeah, if you want to watch or if you want to try and catch up, it's up to you. I would just say between the PDF and the recording, you'll all be able to do it. Perhaps not right now this minute, but it will be done. Okay. All right, I'm going to pause again at step 9 and just get a check to see you're okay. Any comments, feedbacks, problems, successes, joys, pains, feel free to share in the chat. Not any. Let's keep it on the geometry, yeah? All good. Yay. It's really funny. Normally when you have a chat box, normally it's when there's a problem, that's when people type, right? Because if you're just getting on with it and happily doing fine, unless I ask, you're just going to be getting on with it. So yeah, it's nice. Oh, Michelle, nice to see you. I'm glad yours is looking beautiful. Lovely. Good, good, good. Thank you, Abigail. I'm glad it's messy, but it's doing well. This is what we want. You know, we want to have the freedom of it being, you know, not the neatest, the best, the this, the other. It's just, you know, we want it to be the, you know, decent. And then we can kind of, you know, work better and improve. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Lots of, it is complex, it is interesting, but it's achievable complex, I hope. I think I saw Nasmia. Hi, Nasmia. Okay, good. Alessandra, I'm glad it's going great. We're going to move on to step 10. And this time I'm going to, please help me myself, not draw the dotted lines, but you can see, hopefully, in the handout. Let me zoom in. So this is step 10, but can you see this dotted line? So I don't want to draw that. I just want to draw the line in 2 places, here and here. But what does it line up with? It lines up with Javaria, the PDF was in the email, and somebody's put it in the chat further up. Okay. All right. And by the way, I can't answer the direct messages by typing. I'll have to just answer them orally. Okay. So what do I need you to look for? And I'm going to pick these out with a red pen. So it might ruin my drawing, but I want you to be able to see on mine so that it doesn't get shown on yours. Does that make sense? Okay. So there are 2 points that are going to be used, and it's this point and this point. So can you see this pair of triangles? One's facing up, one's facing down, and then on the other side. Now we're about to do something in the world of geometry that is a little bit dangerous. So what do I mean by that in the world of geometry? We're about to use 2 points that are quite close together and kind of draw beyond, outside of them. So what that means is the margin of error is a little bit more so than if you used 2 points and drew a line between them. So they're quite close together, and I'm asking you to draw a line up there and a line up there. So how can we counter that? So the best way to counter that, I would suggest, is remember that this line that we're about to draw has to be parallel to the existing line. Now, when you look at them here and here, they don't look very different. But what I want you to do is look at how far your ruler is up here and up here. Now, if you look at mine, that is a bigger distance than that. So I'm going to make the adjustment because this is a dangerous move we're doing. And can you see this distance is now similar, or if not so the same as this? Okay, right. So I've lined up these 2 points. Miriam, I'm just going to answer your question in a second, and then we're going to draw what we need to. I'll draw in a slightly darker green just because it's for fun. And we're drawing it from the horizontal up to that point, and we're drawing from the horizontal down to that point. So if I just move it away, this slightly dangerous move I've done, loving the fact that I call it dangerous, is just going to be up in this area and up this area. But I was very mindful of keeping the ruler parallel to existing lines. Okay, Mariam is asking, where can you show me the work? Of course, you can show it to me on Instagram. Please tag Leighton House and please tag me. You can share it. Oh, my Instagram is samira.mian, just my name, or you can email it to me or us, as in Leighton House, but social media is a good way. Okay, now we're going to do the other side. Now, can you see my ruler is on top of existing lines? So a nice tip is if you put your pencil down and you're getting it, you know it's in the right place. Now look at the parallel line underneath. Can you see it's going through the middles of the numbers as opposed to something like that? So I'm really looking through my compass. No, it's not a compass, it's a ruler. I'm looking through my ruler, and once I'm satisfied that it is parallel, I'm going to draw the lines in the two places I need to. Okay. There we go. That was a tricksy moves and dangerous, as I keep saying. I mean, you know, there's danger and then there's danger. But yeah, there's certain things that you kind of don't want to do in geometry. And one of them is to it's kind of the word extrapolation might be the key, that you might not want to use 2 points close together to draw beyond. But yeah, that's one of the things you could be careful of. All right, I'm going to pause here because I've done a few odd things as opposed to before where I did, you know, things that were kind of generic underlying grid type maneuvers. Yes, so the PDF, it was emailed to you, and if anybody's willing and able to share it, that'd be great. I can't. Okay, that was step 10. We are going to draw the next. Nasima, you've succeeded. It's like we've got the joy and pain in 2 sentences. You've succeeded on this dangerous path, and literally below somebody said they failed on it. But don't worry, each drawing or each thing you do is a learning process. So you feed one into the next, and it's just a continuous sort of leveling up each time. And sometimes there'll be dips and sometimes there'll be amazing successes. So do not worry about that journey of the process. Okay. All right. Thank you for all the people who answered the PDF chat. Do you guys not read your emails and fully check them word for word? You need to. Okay, right, we're going to move on to step 11, and what we're going to do is the following. Again, I hope you are familiar with now my dotted lines and the fact that parallel lines are key. So for that purpose, you know, you've got an idea that this line we're about to draw is parallel to an existing line. Where does it start? It starts where this line met the diagonal. And how do I know where it's going to go? Well, there's another triangle, and I'm going to color mine in actually, because this is a point that I'd like you to spot. So just lightly I'm shading in, but the point that we're going to use is this one. Okay. And when we do the one in this direction, it's, do I need to shade it in? I feel like I've doubted myself already. I'm just going to dot them. So this triangle, I'm going to line it up that way. And if we go down here, it's going to be this triangle. We'll line it up there. And this triangle. Now, if you look at what I've circled, can you see there's like a pair in close proximity to each other? Okay. Okay, so no problem. You're very welcome. So this is the line we're going to draw. So this point that I've just circled will be across the drawing, and this line will be across. But again, we're putting our ruler across the drawing, but we're only drawing our line in the place we need it. And just keep referring to this on the left-hand side so that you can see what I'm going to be drawing. Okay, so if we are ready, and now this green, I don't think you can barely see it, but this green is bothering me, so I have to get rid of it. I mean, I'm not a perfectionist at all, but I don't like lack of symmetry. It kind of really bothers me. So those lines had to be fixed as well. Okay, deep breath. We are going to draw the first line. So this point in the top left corner is going to align with this point. And like I said, we want this to be parallel, okay? And can you see, potentially, if I was really true to the points, it's not parallel. This is thicker slightly than this. So I'm going to do a little bit of a maneuver to make it parallel, because maybe my other line was inaccurate. Now, here's a little kind of point on the accuracy. I told you about the danger of those 4 lines we drew is being tested already. So just be aware of it. Okay, so that's the line we're after. I made it work. I made it fit. Okay, now I'm going to do this side. And again, I'm going to line it up exactly and then see if it is parallel to the existing line. So this distance, I'm checking against this distance. If you can check them at the ends, that's a better indicator. And I think I moved it, but all I'm doing is drawing the short line I need in the corner. Okay, so the top half now is done. And now I'm going to do the same in the bottom half. Okay. Firstly, actually, are you okay with that? You're all right. If you kind of struggle to look for it upside down, a tip that I would suggest is you just turn your paper upside down and repeat the same move. Okay. Susanna, we're on step 11. So therefore, perhaps you can see what you've missed. And if not, take it easy, enjoy it. The drawing is coming together and you can make them kind of most of it at your own time later. You went through the dotted line, Katya. It's okay. Are you drawing in pencil? If you are, maybe you want to lighten it or erase it or darken the bits you need. Okay, so don't worry, it's not really a big problem. But let me put the ruler in position now for my bottom point. And let's check. Again, I can see some, I'm not happy with that. I think I'm going to make a little adjustment. Okay, and once I'm happy with it, I'm going to draw it in. Okay, so that's that side. And then I'm going to draw this side. And then that is step 11 done. Ta-da! How are we doing? We've got to tricksy things, we've got to dangerous things. So please feel free to feedback, whether we have joy and pain or both. Feel free to let me know. All good. Thank you, Mehmet. Joy. Yes, Melissa. This is what I want to hear. Sorry. Oh, a woohoo from Nasmia. Yay. All fine here. Yana, I'm thinking your name is Yana Schmidt. Sarah, realizing my intersections are off. Sarah, yes. I feel your pain. Mine is slightly wonky and off as well. And you've introduced the word, Alessandra, that I love, wonkiness. I have a touch of that too. But Gulnaz, thank you for the thumbs up. Nice to see you here too. Yay, we got it. Thank you, Isabel. Isabel, were you a bit behind before? So now you've got it and all is good. Great. Aisha, nice to see you too. Great, lovely. I think I'm more kind of inner outer smiling because I recognize your names and I know some of you. Is that creepy? Excellent. Well done, Maria and Asia. Yay. Okay. I just think I'm doing the feedback for me because otherwise you might be, goodness knows. That was a lot of positives. Am I thinking you're fine now? Okay, so we've arrived at slide 12 where I've said, yes, Saba, it's really wonderful, isn't it? I'm glad you like it. Now, Samaya, you put help in the direct messages. I don't know if I can help because I'm doing this. So please put it in the chat if that's okay. Now, we've arrived at step 12, outlining the pattern. And I've got into, I want to say teacher mode. So this pattern that we're drawing, it's on a table. I'm going to go to my last slides because, you know, when I got to drawing this pattern, I feel like it needed a little extra information. So yeah, when you look at this pattern, hopefully you can see that there's a little bit of a margin where my blue lines are taller than the pattern lines. It's hard to see because it's black, but maybe you can see that it's a little bit thicker at the top and at the bottom. The reason being is the rectangle that is used in the table doesn't quite fit the proportions of the pattern. Like the pattern hasn't been sort of squashed because the proportions need to be maintained. You can't kind of readjust it. So when you're a practical artisan or craftsperson, you know, you might have limitations in your material. So you might make some choices that would force this to happen. But we're doing it in terms of the construction, the geometry. So the maths needs to be correct. So this is 60 degrees here. If I was to try and squash it into that white space on the pattern, that would no longer be 60 degrees. It would distort. And anything that was an angle would distort a little. So I've taken upon myself to correct the work of this great master. I hope they forgive me. But basically the rectangle should be with its corners on the tips here. And we don't distort the pattern. We don't chop off anything. We maintain some sort of neatness in the pattern. Okay. Now, while I'm on this slide, I just want to talk about what happens if you did try to kind of, oh no, actually, I don't want to talk about that yet. I'll come to that. Let me go back to where I want to, which was, I think it was step 13. Let's see if, oh, early days. Here we go. So when I'm drawing the rectangle, oh, Abdul Ali, how do you know it's 60 degrees? Oh, this is an excellent question. Because we're working in something which was divided into 6, it's this invisible hexagon, okay, and the proportions of this rectangle belong to that family of, you know, 60 degrees and 30 degrees and so on. So let's have a look at the line I'm referring to. So this line, in terms of what it is from the vertical, that is 30 degrees, okay? And therefore this would also be 30 degrees. So the whole circle's been divided into 12 bits, angles even of 30, and the 2 segments would be 60 degrees. So we've drawn something in the family of 6-fold symmetry. So therefore every angle is going to be related to that. So half of it, double it, and so on. Hope that answers your question. All right, now it says in step 12, we're going to outline the pattern. I'm correcting the proportions. I say this stage can be done on tracing paper. So you can do it on tracing paper if you so wish. And if you do it on tracing paper, then make sure you attach your tracing paper. I've recently purchased some washi tape. Is that the right word? I don't love it, but it's really nice to have finally. It was on sale. I can't resist a sale. Anyway, too much information, right? I'm attaching my tracing paper. All the washi tape people are going to come out now. Gulnaz is starting it. Love washi tape. I don't know. It kind of sticks to my fingers in a weird way. Now, I'm going to pause again because although I'm doing on tracing paper, I think Sean, John, you've asked a good question. If I want to paint directly on the drawing, can you ignore me? Yes, you can. So if you want to do anything like this, you can do it all on the same drawing. But the thing I did was I started on watercolor paper. On this one, I started on colored paper, but I didn't use paints. I just used colored pencils. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of it's got kind of a weird stickiness. I'm not sure I love it. Is there any specific way to use the tracing paper? So we just need to make sure we cover the rectangle with our tracing paper. So if I lift mine off a little, you can see its one job is to just get attached to the paper and cover that rectangle. Yeah, just make sure it's taped because you want your lines to stay in place. You know, we've taken great care with the drawing, and to be honest, every stage now onwards is going to kind of remove a little of the accuracy. So it's potentially there, but we can manage that. The other thing I would suggest is, I mean, do you have a box full of small pencils? I do. I'm not showing off, but these are 2B pencils, and they're a little bit softer than your regular HB or H leads. What that means is then when we're drawing with it, it will stay. No, when we're drawing with it, we can press quite firmly, and then when we flip it over to transfer, it will come off. It's quite soft in the lead. Yes, okay. Ferdos, very good point. You're right. My washi tape actually hasn't ripped anything, so maybe I should be kinder to it. Okay, I'm a fan. I like it. I heart it. Okay, we are going to outline the pattern. Now, again, one of the important things is this is not something we're going to tile. This is our final piece. I've shown you some examples as well. So therefore, we can outline it. And if you want to add more borders and so on, because you're looking at the original table and how it looks in terms of the pattern on the table, then you can do that. Now, I think we're going to take a short break, a comfort break, and also some people, you might need a little bit of catching up. So we're going to pause there, and I would say we're going to return at about 5 past. Which weight pencil did you use? I used 2B, but you can use B, okay? Amanda, yes, the recording will be emailed to people in due course. Are you drawing the taller rectangle? Oh my goodness, I've made a mistake, haven't I? Because I was trying to read the time. I didn't mean to draw the taller rectangle. Thank you, whoever asked that, because that has really helped me, because I didn't mean to. Cat, Corolla. Oh, is that you? Is that you? Yeah. How many mistakes am I going to make today? When I was a teacher, I said I used to be allowed to make 3 mistakes. And then somebody else said to me, that's too many. But, you know, I think if you know me, yeah. Thank you, Kat. All right, let's have a look at this rectangle that I drew and erased and pretended never happened. Where does it stop? So I went on and on about the proportions of this rectangle and then ignored it. So what we're going to do is those 2 points that are the tips of those V's, that's where our rectangle is. And do the same at the top. So these 2 points that are the tips of our V shapes, that's what we're using to draw our rectangle. Holy moly. Thank goodness I could fix that. Thank you so much. Big heart to you, Kakra. Can I blame the weather? Okay, like I said, we'll take a pause. So we will return at, I think, 5 past, okay? And I'm not going to do anything, but I'm happy to hang around, but we're not going to draw anything. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a second, okay? And put on my, hello, so many names and faces. Let me share something else for a moment. Is this what I want to share? Yeah, here it is. There we go. See you after the break. Hello. Hopefully you're a-okay, folks. So before I draw any lines rogue or correct, how are we doing? Are we at the same stage? Maybe. Some of you went ahead. Ooh, if you did, that's the kind of thing I would do. So yeah, that's all good. So far, all I've done is outline the rectangle. I waffled on about how important the rectangle's proportions are and then just literally didn't draw it. So thank you for fixing that, Kat. We're going to now draw in the lines of the pattern. And yes, oh, Dania, are you on page 16? What? Marvelous. And are you Dania from, I want to say Abu Dhabi? I feel like we've met. I'm going to catch up with you then. So I'm going to move on to step 13. And Yay! It is you. Lovely to see you. Well, see you. You get me. All right, those who are with me or ahead of me, is fine. You've drawn all the important things. If you're working on tracing paper, you saw how easy it is to fix a mistake. So don't worry too much if it's kind of a rogue line. So all we're doing is outlining the bits we need. So, you know, earlier somebody said they drew the dotted line. On the tracing paper is where you want to make sure you don't draw the dotted lines. So I'm drawing across the drawing. So as in from top to the bottom, my ruler is just down once. I'm not going to outline it here, then move my ruler and outline it there. I'm going to put my ruler against both points to make sure it's kind of harmonious. Oh, Abhishek, you're tessellating. Oh, I'm not sure I like the tessellation. Did you see it? It's weird. You must tell me what you think. So yeah, I kind of resisted tessellating it because it's just so bizarre. And I think it's not meant for it. I even resisted sharing that little last few pages in the slide about the tessellation because I thought then people will tessellate it and not mine. But I wanted to kind of give you a sense of the kind of mathematically why it doesn't quite look right, what kind of rules are being broken. So yeah, it's a little bit of a weird one. I would say historically, when you look at patterns, the ones that are in individual places, so made by kind of an artist in a manuscript or made in a little panel somewhere on a piece of furniture, that craftsperson, you could say they kind of have worked, you know, basically by themselves. You get a sense of it. You can't necessarily know for sure. But yeah, when doing that, did they know a geometer or refer to a geometer? Or were they just looking by eye at a pattern thinking, I would like to incorporate that? And then they make sort of decisions based on the rectangle, based on their furniture or their drawing, not based on the geometry. So they kind of sometimes have to fit things in. So when you look at examples of geometry in architecture, especially older architecture, you'll find it repeats and tessellates usually beautifully. Excellent, it's good work, it's sound, because you know the whole proportions of the place where the geometry is going to take place has been considered, and I'm sure there's multiple people involved. Whereas when it's an individual bit of furniture or a manuscript and it's the frontispiece, I imagine there's fewer people, not necessarily a geometer. Those people may be expert in a different field. So it's just that kind of idea that, you know, depending on what material we're looking at the pattern in, you may find or may not find, you can find some beautiful examples, but you might also find some slightly odd ones. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So, and then with that point in mind, do we recreate what they've done like lovingly and exactly, or do we let the maths and the geometry make the tweaks we need to, so it makes it better proportioned and overall a better pattern? Don't know why I said it like that, but yeah, that's one of the things to consider. All right, we're going to draw in a pair of horizontal lines at the top and a pair at the bottom. So this is nice and easy, I hope. So this is step 14. So that going across there and that going across there. And I'm pressing very firmly because I don't want it to be too much effort for me when I transfer the pattern with the spoon by burnishing it. So this is what we have. Okay. Can I see if you're okay with that so far? I'm going to take a little drink. Thank you for the thumbs up and the hurrah. So we can try this directly on a rectangle. Oh, I don't know what you mean. Do you mean on the drawing or what do you mean? Please, could you rephrase it, Asia, just so I can get a better sense of what you're asking? Becky, great. That means you've caught up. That must mean you're a geometer. Yes, the drawing. So yeah, you can draw on the drawing. So if you kind of look at my previous examples, this is all done on top of the drawing. Does that make sense? I hope that answers your question. But doing on tracing paper allows me to transfer it to watercolor paper. Oh, and can I just say, in my break, a few of you had shared this all on Instagram, and I shared it straight away like an eager beaver. So I will try to do that if anyone else wants to share anything. Not that I'm being needy, but yeah. Safa, you just caught up. Brilliant. Excellent. Yeah, that's a good idea, drawing in pen. Just take your time if you're drawing in pen, because when you draw in pen, it's like the line's committed. So just make sure you know exactly where it's going to go. So a pause before each line, and then you'll be fine. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw the sort of rhombus like so. Can we? Okay, hold on. Rectangle seagull. Asia, are you going to become a craftsperson and draw this on a table? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I'd say so. Oh, for those who put the dinner on, you're multitasking. Oh, brilliant. Samia, I don't know what you mean. Do you have to draw on that? I don't understand. On what? Oh, Asia, if you have any skills in wood, paint, you know, please do, and then show us. I would love you to do it too. The fact that you thought of it might mean you have to do it. So, okay. All right. I've paused again at step 15. You drew long. Did I do it again? Oh, for goodness sake. Have I made 3 mistakes now, Nasmia? Where would I be without you lot in the chat helping me along? It's because I'm having too much fun. I'm having like internal smiles and external smiles. And the outcome is now my drawing's going a bit skew-if. Aisha, thank you for the solidarity there. Sometimes just need to know that other people are making these boo-boos as well. Okay, all right. This is the stage I'm at, and we're now going to move to step 16. Okay, I hope this isn't going to be too speedy, but here's something that you need to do. You do need to extend. So when I drew the initial inner rhombus that we're about to outline, you can see on the sides, it starts all the way on the edge, but you need to just take it down to the very edge there. Okay, so this is what I'm referring to as the edge, the rectangle. So you're going to start there and you're going to take it all the way down to there. And again, this is a line that's parallel to existing lines. So it goes beyond what we stopped at in the actual drawing of it. We stopped at that point. The reason being, can I defend myself, is because I didn't know where that line would be at that point. Let's give me a little bit of credit for making a wise decision for once. Okay, so that's what it looks like when we draw the V with the extension at the bottom. So make sure you have that little triangle, and then the same going upwards. And like so. Now, can I just say, my lines are very thick, very dark. My pencil isn't especially sharp right now. So I'm kind of compensating or kind of losing a lot of accuracy for the sake of teaching and you being able to see. Okay, so when you're drawing, having a light touch, you being able to see it, not me and kind of people on Zoom, it means you'll draw it better and more accurately. Also drawing in pen, or all of these things I do because I want to show it to you as best as possible. And then my hope is that your drawing will be nice and accurate. That's my hope. Okay, how are we so far? All good? I think we've only got one step to do. Yeah, we just got one step to do. And then we are ready for tracing paper shenanigans. Okay, so the central lines, there's 3 in the middle. They are just from the midpoints of the hexagon through the center to the other side. So all I've just done is add in these 3 lines. Okay, now I'm going to leave this here, and I am going to do the weaving process in a moment. But like I said, this rectangle is slightly taller than the one on the table because I'm doing 2 things. I'm making sure I'm not chopping off these shapes, so they're no longer kites, that they become something else, and therefore I wouldn't have to squash them to fit in. And I think that's what they've done in this corner. Can you see how it's kind of not matching my angles? So that line and that line don't have the same angle. Whereas in other places, can you see the lines match, but it kind of is stopping short. Okay. And yeah, the angle's a bit dodgy there as well. So it's not mine. It's not me in my overlay. It's the pattern underneath. I think when I first started, I used to really try to stay true to whatever I would see. Oh, I'm glad, Nasmi, your son is joining in and enjoying. Brilliant. Hello, hello. So I used to say true to the pictures I would see, but then you realize that the thing that is the underlying grid, the maths, the geometry, all these angles being kind of 60 degrees or multiples thereof, these are important features. Susan, if you're lost, I would say go back from step 17 to see what you've got and what not. So work backwards and see if you can catch up. If not, abandon it and just sit back and relax. Honestly, the next stages, it's going to be hard for you to do at the same time as me. I would even suggest that if you've not done what I'm about to do, you just watch. Okay. All right. So the whole thing with tracing is that enables you to transfer to watercolor paper so that you may repeat the pattern. Now, if you do that, you want to tessellate it. So does this rectangle tessellate nicely? Not particularly. So we would have to extend it to the rectangle that perfectly fits in that circle. So have a look at this red outline. And so just kind of have a look at the fact that it's longer. And I therefore had to extend the pattern. So this is where my pattern stops here. And I've extended it all the way. Arij, I'm not sure which country it's from. Maybe Charlotte could give me some information as to whereabouts. I'm not sure.
To share with everybody some information about the table.
Cool. Okay, so this rectangle is the original rectangle that fits perfectly in the hexagon. Okay. And so maybe this is something you could tile, but when you do try to tile it like this, it doesn't quite work. I only attempted sort of this version of it. I didn't play with it enough to find a solution. I kind of got disappointed with it and realized I only want to draw it in this hexagon and rectangle. So I added a few lines to make it into stars. So if anybody does want to do that, you know, step 20 is for you to do kind of by yourself. And what would be worth doing is drawing this circle in, doing the 6-fold marks, and then hopefully it'll make sense. But you can just use extend and extend. It should work fine without any extra marks. But this is the tile. But when you look at it repeated, there's a few issues with this. Let me show you what I mean firstly. So this line, can you see it doesn't go across the whole drawing? Compare it to another sort of pattern. The lines go across the whole drawing. And this drawing is a tessellation of a tile being repeated. This is a repetition, but it's just not doing what it needs to across the whole thing. Let me just zoom in a bit because I'm getting a bit geeky on this. So that's the first problem. The second problem is look at this meeting of the sides of the pattern. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 kites, but they're of different sizes. So they're not balanced. They're not the same proportions. And that is not something typically you would see in architectural patterns. If this is a 4-pointed star, the pattern would be such that it would be a balanced and equal 4-pointed star. Okay. Now in the corners, where am I looking? The 6-point-fold stars exist, and that's because I put them there. So that's fine. And then there's something weird about this rhombus. So along the edge, there's a full rhombus and a full rhombus. And it's got this up and down V business, but I don't know if that's deliberate. Really, you want there to be, I guess, one rhombus along the join. Maybe we could make our tiles smaller, but then we'd be losing something at the center, the corners. Does that make sense? So if we try to match the sides, the corners would be chopped off and the corners would be ruined. If we try to change the sides here, the proportions of this, then the 6-fold would be ruined. So this pattern was not built for tessellation because of the problems in the corners, the problems on the sides, and just the way there's a lack of continuity and flow. So this is just for your information. And you can see I had a little geeky moment trying to explain it. And yeah, so it's not for tiling. Okay, so I want to show you what I would do with the version we've got, which is this. And this is to try and recreate the channels of the lines. So I'm going to go to the final page and show you that you can see each of the pattern lines is slightly thickened. Some are more thick than the others. So here it looks as though there's two channels right next to each other. I didn't like it, so I kind of abandoned it and just kept it as one. But you can make decisions based on what you can see in the slide. So for this purpose, I would suggest taking another bit of tracing paper. Okay, so let me zoom out a little bit. And what I would suggest is you attach a second piece of tracing paper to your first tracing paper or to your drawing, whichever, but we just need to cover that rectangle. So at this stage, I would say I'm going to do a lot of things that might be hard to follow live. If you want to just watch and kind of pick up what you can from this demonstration, then you can have a go afterwards or from watching the recording and so on. I've got lots of YouTube type videos that are instructional, so you can have a go. Yeah, Aisha's mentioned that she's drawn something like this pattern on an isometric grid and it was able to tessellate and as a completely different pattern. Yes, all of them would. Hexagonal patterns or patterns with, you know, from the sixfold family, whereby each shape has properties of symmetry to do with sixfold, like it has 6 mirror lines or 6 corners or, you know, 6 times it can be rotated and look like itself. So patterns with the properties of sixfold, they will be beautiful and really harmonious when you tile them. This one, just because it's drawn on a table and it hasn't used the sixfold properties to its maximum, there are a few issues. Okay. Thank you, Abhishek. I'm glad. I really was like, you know, like a mad professor. Then I thought that's a bit longer than I expected. I had to shrink the font, but I wanted to share it. So yeah, it's just an opportunity really to think about it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline this pattern by drawing either side of this pattern line. Now, one of the things people ask is, how do you kind of measure how far it is? Now, one of the advantages I've just spotted is my ruler has markings on it. Okay, so these little markings for the millimeters, if I just put that on top of my pattern, can you see underneath is my pattern line? So I'm going to use that and have a go. Okay, now when you're thinking about how thick the pattern lines are, what you've got to bear in mind is your smallest shape. So our smallest shape is this triangle. You don't want to make it too thick that this shape disappears. Okay, no problem. Whoever burnt their ice, I'm very sorry. I can't see your name anymore, but have a lovely time. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so we're going to draw either side of this line. Okay, let me see what the time is. I think we're doing very well for time. I think we might have a little bit of a kind of time at the end to just check how you've been doing and, you know, see the other side of the camera, your side. Okay, so mine fits very nicely and it's actually quite thick. Now, I really trust my eye, wrongly or rightly, but I can see that just by me sliding it, I've stopped where it's parallel and I could draw it in. But if you don't trust that, all you do is, I'm going to turn it around, put your ruler in position so that it is the same distance on the other side. Ooh, I hope that's the same distance. Yeah, it is. There we go. I think my triangle might disappear. I've done mine quite thick. There was me talking about it. And then, yeah, I think I will do it a little bit thinner. Oh, I'll just go with it. What's the worst that can happen, eh? But on my other examples, I'll just show you how thinly I did it. So you have a contrast. That's the space that I'm cautious of, that if that was a bit thicker, that was a bit thicker, that was a bit thicker, it would disappear. And it might just disappear on this example. In fact, I will do it again just because I'm trying to stay true to this piece of furniture. So why am I going to go rogue and creative? Not this time. So let's have another attempt. So that was one way of doing it, but you can see that my ruler, it was a little bit tight in terms of the thickness. So the other way you could do it Oh, let's just make sure we've got the outline of our rectangle. Okay, and then attempt 2. I've lost track of my errors, but this is just like for the purposes of teaching. Okay, right, I'm going to start horizontally. Actually, I'm going to start in the same way because I like this angle. And I'm going to be a little bit closer than I was a minute ago. I'm going to grab a sharper pencil and, yeah, oh, maybe that's too close. This distance away from the line underneath is what I'm trying to recreate. And what I'd suggest is just making sure you take the time to line up each time. And you always are drawing, I would say, on one side of the line as one set. So I started on this diagonal. Okay, and wherever there's a line, I'm basically drawing this line right next to it, parallel and the same distance. Abdul Ali, how would you do this in a piece of furniture? Well, I have no idea because I have no skills in woodwork. Maybe in amongst us, there would be somebody who can work in wood, but I imagine it would be really difficult. I think you could compare it to marquetry or parquetry, where marquetry, I think it is, where you would cut the shapes out and do that very carefully so they fit together. But if you cut them to the grid, then be fine. Priyanka, any measurement? No, I'm just basically judging this distance. Let's have a look. I think it's 2 millimeters. So in total, it would be 4 millimeters. Okay. Now, what you're going to find is this is quite a long task. Me doing it and talking, it's going to be okay potentially, but it might not be. So can you see I've done what I call the underneath of every single line that is diagonal. Now I'm going to do the same, but I'm just going to do one side of the verticals, and then I'm going to turn my paper upside down. Now, the reason I'm doing it in such a weird way is because I want to see the line that I'm drawing adjacent to, and I don't want to kind of guess it. I want to see that thickness, this 2 millimeter thickness, and reproduce it time and time again. Oh, what's the suggestion? You could do it in Adobe Illustrator. You could resize the pan, suit your furniture, and then print it and then use it as a guide. That is a good idea. I think with any of these patterns, the craft that's involved and the kind of the methods that involved, each craft needs, needs its own kind of practical, technical steps. And, from the starting point of a geometry table, you can do, geometry from a table. You could do it in a table. You could do it in many pieces of furniture. You could do it as a drawing, a painting. Yes, it was you. Okay, can you do the thickness from any side of the line? You're going to do it both sides. So the line has 2 sides, right? And what I've done is I've done one side. And then if I turn my drawing upside down, can you see I'm automatically now doing the other side? So here's through my tracing paper, the line underneath. I'm going to get a sharp pencil again. So I've got a whole bunch of sharp pencils. If yours is getting blunt, you need to sharpen it. And now I'm drawing it on the other side. You're very welcome, Katya, and see you next week. Yeah, 2 millimeters either side is what I ended up doing. You could go for 3 millimeters, that's fine. But yeah, I'm basically always going to do, the principle that is really important is that these lines have to be parallel and on either side of the pattern line. That's why I'm doing it on a second piece of tracing paper. And that's why I'm doing it as slowly and carefully as I can. And sometimes, it's not going to be perfect because of the method I'm using, just by judging it by eye. So if you don't like that, I've got a video on YouTube that shows a few ways to do it. It's called 4 ways to weave. Why are you doing this on extra sheet, not the original tracing paper? Because I don't want my middle line to be featured in my weave pattern. So I'll show you the process of getting the weave onto here. So the original tracing has the line in the middle. I just want the lines either side. So it's important that I don't give myself extra work to do that. You're very welcome, Jumana. Yes, please do share on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. I love all of them. Well, I don't love them. They're, you know, they're a good way to communicate. But yeah, do share anything you've created on any means you would like, by any means. And I've realized I've missed the center out, so I'm just going to make sure I double that up. Again, maintaining the thickness. I've also missed the corners. So let's make sure all the lines are doubled up. And then the next process I'm going to do is the neatening up process, because I haven't actually been mindful of how the lines meet each other, if I've drawn too much, if I've drawn too little. So just be aware of that. I'm going to turn it upside down just to make it easier. So this is why it's hard for you to maybe do this at the same time as me. But the geometry, I think it is probably easier to do at the same time as me. I hope. I want to see your efforts. But let's see. Oh. Yeah, there's a certain amount of freedom, I guess, in all the stages we're doing. Are we trying to reproduce exactly what we see on the table? Well, already I've made an executive decision about the proportions, no. But in terms of the weave, I tried to make sure my triangle didn't disappear. But yeah, this is what I've done. I'm going to add one more thing, which is this border, this outer border. And I'm trying to make sure it's the same thickness as the borders inside. Another executive decision I made is I didn't keep it extra thick in the middle. When you look at the photograph of the table, it was a bit thicker. I didn't love it. So, that's so bad. I think he, you know, had spare materials, and they're such expensive materials. So he was, you know, obviously wanting to use them. That's a bit wonky, but that's okay. Don't worry. Okay, so if I zoom out a little and show you what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to thicken up these pattern lines. And if I kind of have a look without attaching it, unattaching it, you can see everything is there. And now I am going to unattach it. I'm going to get rid of the tape because it'll get on my nerves in a minute. There we go. So there's two tracings you've got. If you wanted to paint the pattern just as shapes, which I often do, then you could use this tracing paper. But if you wanted to create some sort of weave, which is where the pattern lines look as though they're going under and over, that you can do from this. I'm going to show you a few kind of variations now. So this is an interwoven pattern. So this is now me just going free-spirited from the original table. I've had, you know, fun with the colors. I've made the channels look as though they're going under and over each other. So if you zoom in, it's the purple lines are going under the blue, then over the blue, under the the red, over the red. When you look at the actual final pattern, these aren't features that are on there. They've basically, it's hard to see, I don't know if you can, basically they've made a shape of the overlap. So this is the shape of the overlap. So you could look at the photo in the PDF and really stay true to it. You could do this. I'll just show you the other example, if I may. Is it here somewhere? I don't know. So here's another example where I did try to stay true to it in terms of the colors, and those shapes are the ones I left. Okay. And then also I've got a kind of something I can show you in terms of, you know, what you can do with a pattern full stop. So, you know, we have basically got a bunch of lines and circles, and then we extracted a pattern. So the pattern red. So you could color in the shapes, half of them. In this case, I kind of did the star and these shapes. And in this case, I did the kites. So this is a different pattern altogether, but just to show you how one pattern can be given different treatments. This is quite comparable to what we have in the example, because the lines have been doubled up either side of the original pattern line. but I haven't done this under overlook. Another thing you can do is you can keep the pattern line and paint almost up to it. So you've got this white channel. My favorite thing to do, I would even say go so far as to say it's like a signature move for me, because it just allows you freedom with the colors. And this weave is what I can show you potentially we can do here. So what I want to suggest is take your tracing paper. The one has the thick lines, and your first thing is to neaten things up. So wherever you see things that you've drawn too much of, you can erase. Okay, now I need to make a decision. I'm going to ask you to tell me what I'd like to do. Shall I show you how to weave it so that we are producing this, or shall we produce this? But so basically suggestions welcome. Oh, perfect. That was a resounding capital yes, and a yes with extra S's is also resounding. Okay, let's do this. So weave it is. Thank you, Nabila. So when you're doing a weave, usually you have this sense that a pattern is weavable or not. So if you look at this, there's this T junction, which means there's not an entry and exit point for every line. So let me just give you an example. Normally, when you're weaving a pattern, you've got to show that one channel is going over the other. So this one has a way in at the intersection and a way out, and it's going over the white line. But if you have an odd number of lines meeting, which one's going to go over, what's going to go under, which one stopped, is a bit dodgy. So even numbers at an intersection means that you can weave it. Odd numbers mean you can't. Oh, I did a little drawing there. So I'm taking the best thing known to mankind. Okay, there's lots of things. This is a mono eraser. So it's a very fine rubber. Okay. Yeah, it's XY, but it's more than that. It's odds and evens. So you could have 6 lines, and because there's 3 of them meeting, okay, they will fit. So it's even and odd so that we can account for all the potential weaves. Okay. All right. Yes, these are brilliant. Let me start at the top. So I'm going to do this half first, and I'm going to turn my T joints into just open joints. So they just have no lines there. Okay, and I'm going to aim to do this. Let's see. I'm going to aim to be transferring in about 5 minutes. So forgive me, this is a bit speedy. So all I'm doing is getting rid of my T junctions so that I don't get them confused with the weaving. The weaving has to be only where there's a pair of lines crossing each other, so that I have 4 intersections. You could even weave the center, but I think it might not look that attractive. We'll see. I don't think it will. Oh, now I'm thinking about the weave at the center. Oh my goodness. It'll be quite fun to do, wouldn't it? I left a star on this one. It's a dodgy star, but I did leave it as a star. Okay, so neatening up takes a bit of while. So I pressed hard, but now I'm kind of suffering for it. What you could do is do this in a circular way. So let me do my annoying thing, my demonstration, which is helpful supposedly. But I want you to look at these 6 intersections. Each of them is going to be given the same treatment. It's as though, imagine these are your 6. Okay, you're going to erase in the same direction. So in this case, clockwise. So let me kind of start in this way, and I'm kind of doing a downward motion. So then if I move my paper so that it's the corner there, then it's a downward motion. So you're taking advantage of symmetry. Let me move this so it's not so in the way. So let's start this way up. So I'm trying to look, always deal with the corner in the top right. Now there's a new corner in the top right, and I'm just vertically rubbing it. New corner in the top right. So it's always a vertical line that I'm erasing. And because I'm doing it by rotation, it works. There. Okay, so now let's put it back the right way up, or completely 100% upside down. So this is going over. So the next line has to look like it's going under. Okay, so in this case, you're going to rub in the opposite direction. So it's this direction. Okay, now what you'll find is 1, 2, 3, 4. What you'll find is this junction is like the 4 points of this rhombus, but sometimes we have it, sometimes we don't. So we've got it there, there, and there, and then we've got it here. Ah, we could do it. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 at a time. So let's look at the rhombus that's here. Okay, so this one's going over, this one's going like so, this one's going like so. So it's emerging from underneath. And then this one's going like so. So have a look at my exaggerating rubbing. So these 2 have the same behavior and these 2 have the same behavior. Okay, so this is the rhombus that's at the tip of the kite. So if you've got that sort of one shape fixed, you can do it the same for all of them. Okay, so I'm looking for my next rhombus. There it is. So this and this match. And then this and this match. Okay, now I'm going to look for my next kite and the next rhombus. This and this match in the erasing direction. And this match. Next kite, next rhombus, this and this match. So I'm just literally not changing my hand. And then this and this. Okay. Next one, there's my kite, there's my rhombus. So this and this match. And then this and this match. The power of doing this is that you can kind of switch off to the rhythm of under, over, because you can get confused by that. So here's the kite, here's the rhombus. So these 2 match and then these 2 match. So we've done quite a lot of channel work there, channel work. And if you look at in isolation, each of them, they work and then they work with each other. So now we need to go kind of to the tips of this triangle. It's hard to spot, but if you can, there's, I think, 6 of them. And here we need to go in this direction. So kind of vertically. Now I'm going to find the next one. Find the next triangle. Find the next triangle. Find the next triangle. And find the next triangle. And I'm back to the beginning. And the last thing I need to do now are just this top side and this bottom side. Okay, so if I look at the top, it's approaching in that direction. So then the ones underneath are going to be like so. And they usually match. So you can kind of do the same direction. And then I'll do the same here. So that's going over. Now it needs to look like it's going under. And then lastly, the corners. Oh, that's over. So this has to go under. Okay. And then that's under. So it has to go over. And then finally at the top, that's over. So it has to go under. So these 2 kind of have a similar behavior. And that has to be the opposite. Once you've fixed your tracing, the key is to turn it upside down. Could I do this as dramatically as possible? And can I also ask, thank you, Yana. Thank you. Oh, Hanya, you know, this is brilliant. And Yana, I'm glad that's fun. So this tracing paper on which I've done all of this work is what I'm going to turn upside down. And can I even do a workshop without mentioning a spoon and using a spoon, not for snacks? It's impossible. So that I'm going to attach. And because I want to attach it to the surface, I'm chopping a piece off. And because I know this masking tape, what is it? This washi tape is a little bit, I don't know, I'm getting to know it. So I'm going to attach more than I usually do. I know it's not going to rip. So firmly attach it. How did I place this? I just checked it's kind of sitting straight. I normally measure it a lot more carefully, but I'm conscious of time. So when you do this, you can do this with a bit of more leisurely pace. And now time to use the spoon. I mean, either you love this or hate this. I love it. And I always kind of have great fun in doing it and then creating my artwork. So notice my spare hand is always acting like a bridge. Make sure you do have a go, Becky. Am I chasing you up on homework somehow? Once a teacher, always a teacher. Okay. So this rubbing, you can maybe like lift off a corner to see whether it's sufficiently transferred, and you can see it is. Use the edge, not the round, and use your hand. You do not want any of this paper moving. Oh, Michelle, you have a favorite spoon? That's amazing. I buy cheap ones from a shop called Wilko, which is a great shop. Historically, it's like Woolworths of the 80s and 90s and I guess noughties. But yeah, I bought like 6 spoons for 50p, which isn't a lot. But I just thought, you know, it does the job. So yeah, who doesn't love water? Yeah, the rubbing method is really good. And I think when people fail, where I've seen them fail, is they're not doing it as carefully. And also, maybe you're allowed to like drawing and things, you know, in a fuller way. But let's see how it looks. I've noticed I lose the edge on my spoons. I've got too many spoons. Okay, so I've lifted up just one side and you can see the pattern has been transferred. So if I wanted to now add paint, where's my example? Where's my painting on? Here it is. I can now start adding paint. So this workshop, we didn't want to kind of get too bogged down in the painting. I wanted to get you to the stage where you could be in a position to paint it. So if any of the lines are too dark, so for example, I need to be able to see the pattern lines. So I can see there's a little bit of a gap here. So just these inner junctions I'm going to go over. There's a gap there, there's a gap there. So I'm going to kind of attach it again. Oh, I need to just change my camera. Oh, so please let me know how you're doing in the meantime. Oh. I am still here. I'm just switching up the camera. Hopefully you can see on my other camera. It has a limit of 2 hours. It's like it's died early today. My tracing smudges or doesn't sufficiently come down when doing the trace. You know what? It's just practice, Hania. Knowing how much pressure you need to apply is the key. And doing it as precisely as you can. Oops, a daisy. That's the key as well. So it's one of those things that I would definitely recommend practicing if you know you want to master it to get better at. So having a little check and knowing, for example, on mine, I need to add in bits. Okay, so there we go. And the other thing is this line's quite dark. So I'm using something called a putty eraser to just lift off some of the marks. I would not spend too long fixing and fiddling with your pattern. I would just get it to a light enough stage that you can paint over it, and it, because paints, you can't erase pencil lines from under when they're underneath paint. So you don't want these lines to be too dark. You want to be able to see them as in you, the artist. So as long as you can see it, then it's good to go. And if you just, like, for example, I've still got a corner missing there, you can do little adjustments, do it with a 2B pencil, but I wouldn't take like all the time in the world to make this defined, because I'm going to be painting it. If I wanted it to be more precise, then you can do it like so. All right, there was a few questions there. Can we do black outlining liners to final pattern after painting or just leave it? Yeah, honestly, the ways you finish it, you've just seen my 3. It can be as different and as varied as you like. We've had a few people ask about doing it in wood. Well, that was the original material, but that's not a skill set I have. I'm a geometer, so therefore I'm going to do it in the geometry. Okay. All right. I am thinking I'm going to pause and see if anyone has any questions or feedback. And then also, if in about 2-3 minutes, anyone got any screen shares that they can show, hold up their artwork maybe. So I'm gonna see if there's any questions, and then I might just take off my camera and then see what you're up to, because you know I need to see you too. Hopefully that's okay. All right, any questions? I don't know what I do means. Yeah, oh, very welcome. Okay, I'm going to take my camera off and let's see if we can have a look at gallery to see what you guys have been up to. Have you been sitting there? Actually, I don't want to do that. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to get rid of that screen.
I think
feel
I
free
do
to.
might be a question. That's
Oh,
how
okay.
I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, if you've put something, you please type in the question. It's hard to follow if it's not full sentence because I can't read it all. So full sentences are very welcome. What will you do with the pattern in the second session next week? It's a different pattern next week. Do you want to see it? Do you want to get a sneak peek? God, I sound like a kids presenter there. Do you want to see it? So yeah, next week we're doing another pattern. It's a bit more complicated. But basically, whoopsie, it's quite gorgeous. It's the one I basically drew first. So when I looked at what my, what I will be doing for the session, I did this second, but I did this one first because it's quite beautiful and it has its own dramas. It has its own complications. But yeah, I think, again, although it's in a hexagon, it gives you this idea that it might be repeatable, but we're going to treat it as an individual pattern, just on its own right. But does anyone have anything to show me? Oh, okay, Abhishek, I can see you're holding up something. He only went and tiled it. I'm going to spotlight it for everybody. Oh, it's a bit blurry. You might have to move it closer or nearer. What's happening? What's happening? What is this technical difficulties? Oh, wow, you did do it. Very nice. Nice to see you. Thank you for sharing. Okay, I'm going to go back to the gallery view. I can see Jane Holt. I'm coming to you next. I'm going to line some people up, so be ready. So Jane, I'm going to come to you, then Shamila, and let's see. So spotlight for everybody, Jane. Oh, you did it. Very nice. I love your garden house. Garden room is gorgeous. Thank you very much, Jane. Let's go back to the gallery, and I said I was going to go to Shamila. After Shamila, I can't see anyone on this page, so I might just go to the other page. Oh, there's 6 pages of people. How am I going to do that? What? Okay, we can do it. Hi, Shamila. Nice. Let's hold it up, and nice to see a smiling face, by the way. I mean, great stuff. I can just about see it. I'm going to take your word for it. Oh, there it is. There it is. Lovely. I was about to abandon you then, so I can't see it. Thank you very much, Shamila. All right, let's see. I mean, this is what I've been waiting for, to see what you guys have been up to. I'm just flicking through if there's anybody else. I think if your cameras are off, you can put your cameras on. Oh, Michelle, I'm going to come to you, and Yusra, I'll come to you next. Oh, where have you gone? Wait, I was about to press you. Oh, there you are. Thank you very much. Nice to see a smiling face. Beautiful. Hi, hi, hi. Cool. Thank you so much. Oh, this is really cute. Seeing faces from the old Instagram and new faces too. That's why I couldn't concentrate. It's all your fault for being like you. That's lovely, Yusra. Cool. Good, good, good. Thank you for sharing. Gallery. Okay. I think that might be all the people who wanted to share. If I've missed you, just show. I can't see anything. Oh, cat. Cat. Oh, you are the one who rescued me. I am indebted. Thank you so much. Well, yours is gorgeous, so exact and accurate. And we all have to say big thank you to you for spotting my irregular rectangle. So thank you so much. Oh, dear me. Okay, gallery. Oh, Asia, have I shown yours? Yeah, if anybody else would like to show yours, all you have to do is switch your camera on and then you'll be in the front screen. Yes, Abhishek had a colored version because I think he got ahead and just did it. That's really nice, Asia. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, it's so nice to see all of your works at this stage. Alessandra, spotlight. Is that you, Alessandra? Nice to see you. I mean, you're not able to talk because we muted you all, but it's fine. That's gorgeous. Brilliant. The reason why I know some of you is because I see you on Instagram, but Alessandra comes to my workshops in real life, you know, like in person. So yeah, it's really nice to see her as well. Shirley, a good familiar name. Did you know? Nice to see you, Shirley. Lovely. Looking good. A nice size as well. Right, remove spotlight. Thank you so much, Shirley. Okay. All right. What I was going to say about next week, I'm going to come back to Yana and Abigail in 1 second, is in terms of the list of materials, you can see how it's kind of a little bit of overkill in terms of the sizes, but I don't want somebody who's drawn something for the first time to end up doing something too small. So A4 I thought might be tricky. Maybe I misjudged that, but yeah, just bear that in mind in terms of the same list. Next time we're going to be recreating this. So therefore you can have a smaller scale one if you wish, but it gets fiddly. So my weave is quite thin. So if you're doing it for the first time, it's fiddly. So just bear that in mind. The size is basically based on what would be most comfortable for somebody drawing for the first time. Okay, Yana and then Abigail. And then Priyanka, I'm coming to you. Lovely, nice. Looking good, Yana. Well done, well done. Thank you. And then I think I said Abigail with 2 B's. Where have you gone, Abigail? You've moved. There you go. Not that you've moved, other people have moved. People are moving around. Okay, there we go. Nice. Lovely to see your smiling face. Oh, nice. Cool. It's got like a sketchy feel to it. You've already added some depth and color. Oh, somebody's getting creative. Very nice. Thank you very much, Abigail. Okay. Gallery. And I think I said somebody else after. Oh, Priyanka, then you. And anyone else who'd like to show yours, please just put your cameras on. Oh, sorry. Basically, because people are switching on and off their camera, you're moving position on my grid. So I was pressing Priyanka's. Oh, nice nails, Priyanka. Very lovely. Look at my nails. Sorry. Gorgeous. Lovely work. Thank you so much. That's lovely to see. Okay, I think we might stop there in terms of the sharing, and just a moment to say thank you so much for coming to the class. It was really nice hearing from Charlotte that loads of people had signed up. Nice to see you, Tara. I just saw you wave. And you know, that sense that, you know, we were like this in lockdown when it was the first thing, you know, first time doing it. So people signed up. So it's really, really nice to kind of recreate that. I know lockdown was really tough for a lot of people, but that little joy we got from doing art online, honestly, it helped me survive, and I know it helped other people survive. So I'm glad we can recreate it. And thank you for all the lovely comments coming in.
They're absolutely wonderful. Samira, you're somebody's put further up that you're an absolutely fantastic tutor, and I completely agree. It's been wonderful. You. The time has just flown by. It's amazing. And,
amazing.
And thank you to everybody who's joined in, all being so yeah, positive and producing such amazing work and being willing to share it too. So yeah, I can't wait for next week. Oh.
Brilliant. And thank you for those who helped us along as well, especially me and my multiple mistakes. That I really, really appreciate. So thank you so much. And yeah, I think that's it from me. I think it's just nice to read your comments and like feel that joy. Oh,
wonderful. I think we will see you next week. And thank you, Samira. It's absolutely fantastic. Brilliant.
Very, very welcome. And thank you for having me.
See you soon.
Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.
Bye. Crazy waves.